Hi guys, welcome back to another video on Rooted in Faith with our Sprout and our Microgreen series. And today I want to talk to you about microgreens, and I'm going to talk to you about growing them. I'm going to harvest them in a stainless steel sprouter that's really it's 2-tier because it's got 2 trays. This is a kale, and you can see from the roots. You could actually do sprouts or microgreens, depends on how long you let them go. And this is kale. And then I also have another one, and I use this. It's an easier way inside to do microgreens. This one is broccoli, and it's using no soil, and it's got roots here. And what I'm going to do is trim this back as far as I can. I don't know if I could pull it up. I'd have to cut some of the roots here off. Get a razor and scrape that off so I could pull them up. But I want to try to get them as close as I can, and then I'll scrape them up and then discard whatever it is. So this is the broccoli. Now it's hard to see, so I'm going to try to angle it down. I get my head cut off a little bit to the broccoli here, so you won't see the top of me. But at least you'll see what I'm doing with the sprouts. And it's in the evening time, so my light is not very good. And so I'm just going to pull it up just a little bit. I don't know if you can see me pulling it up. Because you have no soil. So this is just broccoli and roots. So I'm going to go in here with my knife. We can use a razor or whatever. And I'm going to cut it off. I don't know if you can see it. Like that. And this is another form of greens that are highly nutritious. Very yum. And the reason I'm harvesting them tonight is I'm going to put them in a salad with my regular sprouts. So I'm going to put the link down below. I'm going to turn my phone back up. Like I said, I'm going to harvest these. And I'm going to put them in another container here. And a lot of people, me included, used to think that sprouts were a little bit complicated because people are afraid of mold or mildew or something like that. As long as you keep them watered. Now these were growing, like I said, they were not in dirt, and you could grow microgreens. And so I grew one of them in the bottom container of the sprouter with water. So the roots were grown in water and not soil. And it makes it a little bit cleaner, especially if I'm doing it inside. I don't like a lot of fungus gnats. And with soil, when you bring soil in your house, which I did several years ago, when I was doing my arrow gardens even, it created or attracted a lot of fungus gnats. And they are very hard to get rid of. They're almost like fruit flies. But, like I said, I'm cutting these off. I don't know if you can see the length of them. If I can hold them up here. And a lot of people like to do microgreens. They say they may be contain a little bit more nutrient than a sprout. But it's very close. And as long as you're eating them fresh like this, you're going to get a lot of nutrition. And it's a little bit more leafier. You're not getting the root because you're cutting and having the stem and the green for like a lettuce or maybe a wrap. You could do a wrap with sprouts or microgreens. And again, you could compost this because there is no dirt. You could compost this straight to your compost garden, your worm bin, or your animals. Because it's just roots, so they're going to decompose, or compost I should say, not decompose, but they're going to, and I feel like on this batch, the broccoli was a little bit more thicker. I don't know if it's because I used more seeds. You want to spread your seeds out, whatever size container you're having. And you don't want them overlapping either, but you want them pretty dense. That's what makes microgreens, is because of the denseness. They'll grow up close together. And sometimes you could actually get if you're in soil or some other kind of medium, I don't know if water, I haven't really tried. You can sometimes get a second harvest with the original seed. I've done that before with a certain microgreen. I can't remember what it was. But, you know, I'm going to go back over what I'm cutting and try to get even closer to the root. So I get a lot of stem and a lot of harvest from this. Because I feel like microgreens will take longer to sprout. You have to go through different stages when you're doing microgreens. You have to go to the blackout stage. You have to sometimes put weights on the seeds to get them to take hold, and then put them in dark till they germinate and sprout. And then they have, a lot of people say they don't like microgreens as far because you have to worry about a grow light or some other kind of light. And yes, you can, but you could also just grow them with a little night light like I had on my counter here. I don't know if you can see it behind me on the wall. And if you have even a kitchen light, you know, as long as they are close to a window. I don't have a window in my kitchen, but a lot of people like to do microgreens and put them by a window. So windows, a fluorescent light, a grow light. They do like light to green up. So, and a lot of people don't really like microgreens as much because it is a little bit more steps involved in microgreens. But again, it's another different nutrient profile with microgreens. And they're a little bit, I taste a little bit, they can be a little bit of stronger microgreen taste. Sprouts can be a little bit milder. So it just depends on what you like. So I'm going to go ahead and harvest these. And then I'm going to harvest my kale. As you can see from the kale, it was not, I don't think I put as many, they're not as dense. But they are light, they are a lighter green. The broccoli was a darker green. And I've done radish microgreens, and radish microgreens grow fast. But I'm going to continue to cut and harvest. It's a little bit late at night. And I want to get these harvested up because they're about gotten as tall in this container. Different containers, you could grow them different lengths. You could actually grow them taller. You could grow them at a younger development. You could let them get taller. When they get taller, they tend to be not as sweet. They get to be more of a stronger taste. But I think that's about all I'm going to do because it's getting down to the root on that. So like I said, sometimes you could cut the roots off with your knife. I really need a razor on this container to cut these off on the bottom. And once you pull all this off, you'll be able to pull I'm going to see if I can show you. I'm using my hands right now. You know, you could use a razor blade. You could use I'll have to show you this tool that I use sometimes. Move that down in there. Hold on for just a second. A lot of people use these type of things. So I'm getting close up here. And they'll go over the bottom because it is stainless steel. But I find that sometimes a little cumbersome. So I really have a razor blade, and sometimes I like to just get underneath them. See how I'm just pulling that up? I don't know if you can see. Just pulling it up underneath. And this is what you get left. It's going to go in your compost or to your animals. Because it has the root, it has some seeds that didn't germinate again. And you could just scrape that off. See how that's cleaning up pretty good right there? Just with my hand. Once I get it low enough, I could just go ahead and just do that, and then I could spray it down and pull off the ones on the bottom. This is a lot of good compost because it's not going to go to waste. Animals like it. Again, my dog Molly, not this part, but she's going to help me eat the microgreens. And I'm going to pull it off. I'm trying to get most of this pulled off because I can show you how the roots would come off on the bottom. And I'm going to put this inside, and tomorrow I'll go put it in my compost pile. And since my compost pile is not covered right now, it will provide some food to wild rabbits because I live in the woods. And so you have the roots on the bottom. And there you can just go ahead and just pull them off. Get a knife or scrape it off with a knife, a razor blade, and they'll just come off as well. So that's what I was going to show you about the cleanup. And then you just spray it down. You know, it takes a little bit of cleanup. I will not lie. You can. A lot of people will use a silicone with little tiny holes instead of using the stainless steel. They could put that in here and just pull the silicone mat up and reuse it. They've got reusable silicone mats that's got little tiny holes because the broccoli seeds and stuff are very small. But that's as far as I'm going to do it now. I'm going to wash it in the water. I was going to show you. This is what I got left to go in the compost pile. So that's a lot of the food that's going to go or decompose and make my soil richer. So when I do have time to do some gardening outside, it's going to feed that soil. So with that being said, I'm going to let you go and finish up this other tray of kale and wash my hands off. Always try to keep your hands clean. And y'all take care until next time.